Before you leave, let me tell you something most people never hear. If this message reached you tonight, it is not because you were searching for it. It is because Allah knew your heart was ready to listen. There is a moment coming in your life not far from now where something will make sense all at once. A memory, alos, a door that closed, a night you cried and thought no one saw. And when that moment comes, you will remember this. You will remember that Allah did not delay you. He did not forget you. He did not turn away from you. He was quietly protecting a version of you that hadn't been born yet. So don't rush away from this feeling. Don't scroll past this moment. Sit with it for a few seconds longer. Because the same Allah who allowed this pain to enter your life is the Allah who is preparing to show you why it had to. And when He does, you won't just feel relief, you will feel gratitude. If your heart felt even a little lighter tonight, if something inside you softened even for a moment, then whisper this just once before you go. Ya Allah, I trust you even here. And walk forward knowing this: you are not behind, you are not forgotten, you are not alone, you are being led. Allah didn't remove it to empty you, He removed it because it was quietly replacing Him. There are moments in life when something enters your world so softly that you don't even notice how important it becomes. At first it feels like a gift. It makes you smile. It makes your days lighter. It gives you something to look forward to when you wake up in the morning. You thank Allah for it. You feel grateful for it. And for a while everything feels balanced. But slowly, very slowly, something changes inside. You begin to think about it before you think about your prayers. You begin to worry about losing it more than you worry about losing your connection with Allah. You begin to feel calm only when it is near and restless when it is far. It can be a person who becomes your emotional home, a plan that becomes your whole future, a dream that becomes your only reason to keep going, a version of life that you tell yourself, if I just get this, I will finally be okay. And without meaning to, without planning to, your heart starts leaning more on that thing than on Allah. You wake up thinking about it. You go to sleep thinking about it. You measure your happiness by how it is going. You measure your worth by how close you are to it. When it is good, you feel strong. When it is shaky, you feel lost. When it is gone, you feel empty. And that is the moment when Allah, in His deep and gentle mercy, steps in. Not with anger, not with punishment, but with love that is strong enough to do what hurts. He does not argue with what your heart is attached to. He does not compete for your attention. He does not beg for a place in your life. He simply removes what has quietly started to sit where only He belongs. And when that happens, it feels like something has been pulled out of your chest. It feels like the ground has moved under your feet. It feels like you don't know who you are anymore. You sit there asking, Ya Allah, why did you take this from me? Why did you let this fall apart? Why does this hurt so much? But what you don't see in that moment is this: Allah did not take it to leave you empty. He took it to bring you back, because your heart was starting to build its peace around something that could change, leave, break or disappear. And Allah wants your peace to be built around something that never leaves, never breaks, never fades: Him. So He makes space again inside you. Space for dua to feel real, not rushed. Space for salah to feel like a meeting, not a habit. Space for trust to grow where fear had started to live. And slowly, after the tears, after the confusion, after the long nights of silence, you begin to feel something different. A calm that doesn't depend on anyone staying. A strength that doesn't depend on any plan working. A peace that doesn't rise and fall with the world. You begin to remember what it feels like to lean on Allah again instead of leaning on what He created. Because the heart was never meant to carry two places of safety. It was never meant to rest in something temporary. It was always meant to rest in the one who never changes. And when you finally feel that, you realize something beautiful. What you thought was loss was Allah giving your heart back to itself. And even after you start to feel that quiet calm returning, there are still moments when your heart goes back to what was taken. A memory will pass through your mind. A place will remind you. A sound, a name, a small detail will suddenly make your chest feel heavy again. And you may think, why am I still feeling this? Didn't I already let this go? But letting go is not a single moment. It is a journey. Allah walks with you step by step, breath by breath. Sometimes Allah allows the memory to return, not to hurt you again, but to show you how much stronger you have become. What once broke you now only makes you pause. What once took away your sleep now only brings a quiet sigh. And in that you begin to see the healing that is slowly happening inside you. There was a time when your whole day depended on that thing. If it went well, you felt alive. If it went wrong, you felt crushed. Now, even when the thought comes back, your world does not collapse. That is not because you became cold. It is because Allah taught your heart where real safety lives. You start to notice small changes in yourself. You turn to Allah first, not last. You whisper dua before you whisper to people. You look for peace in prayer, not in messages, not in signs, not in waiting for something to return. And without realizing it, your heart begins to stand on something stronger than feelings. You begin to trust Allah even when you don't understand Him. You begin to feel close to Him even when life feels quiet. You begin to believe that if He removed something once, He can replace it with something better in ways you cannot imagine. There is a beautiful moment that comes after deep pain. It is the moment when you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what is Allah teaching me through this? And in that moment, your heart becomes softer, not harder, wiser, not bitter, stronger, not closed. You begin to see how gently Allah was protecting you from building your whole life around something that could never carry the weight of your soul. Because no person, no plan, no dream was ever created to be your anchor. They were created to walk with you, not to hold you up. Only Allah can hold the heart without dropping it. So when you feel that quiet emptiness again, don't rush to fill it with something new. Sit with it. Breathe in it. Let it remind you that this space was made for Allah. Let it become the place where you speak to Him honestly, where you cry without explaining, where you trust without needing proof. And one day, when something new enters your life, you will hold it differently. You will enjoy it without worshipping it. You will appreciate it without depending on it. You will love it without losing yourself in it. Because now your heart knows where home truly is. Not in what comes and goes, not in what stays for a season, but in the one who has been with you in every season, every loss, every tear, and every quiet night you thought you were alone. And when you realize that, you don't just feel healed, you feel returned. What broke was the version of you that would have never survived what He's preparing. There comes a moment in life when everything you thought you were standing on begins to shake, not all at once, not loudly, but slowly, quietly, like the ground moving beneath your feet while the sky still looks the same. At first, you tell yourself it's nothing. This is just a bad day. This will pass. This will go back to how it was. But deep inside, you feel it. Something has shifted. The things that once made you feel safe don't feel the same anymore. The words that once comforted you feel empty. The plans you once trusted now feel fragile in your hands. And in that space, fear starts to whisper, did I lose my way? Did I make the wrong choices? Did Allah turn away from me? But my dear heart, this is not abandonment. This is awakening. There are times when Allah lets the ground beneath you move, not to make you fall, but to make you look up. Because as long as everything feels steady, you keep walking without questioning where you are going. You keep building on what feels familiar. You keep trusting what feels comfortable. And sometimes what feels comfortable is not what is carrying you closer to Allah. So He allows uncertainty to enter, not to confuse you, but to free you. You see, certainty can become a cage when it is built on the wrong foundation. You can become so sure of a path, so attached to a direction, so convinced of a future that you stop asking Allah if this is still what He wants for you. So Allah gently loosens your grip. He allows questions to rise in your heart. He allows doubt to tap on the door of your mind. He allows you to pause in the middle of your journey and look around. And it feels uncomfortable. It feels scary. It feels like standing in the dark without knowing where the next step is. But this pause is not a punishment. It is a mercy, because in this stillness, you start listening again. You listen to your heart when it whispers, this no longer feels right. You listen to your soul when it says, there is something more for me than this. You listen to your dua instead of your desires. You begin to realize that Allah is not taking away your direction. He is refining it. There was a version of you that walked through life with confidence, but that confidence was built on things that could change, on people who could leave, on plans that could fail, on circumstances that could turn overnight. So Allah invites you to build a new kind of certainty. Not the kind that says, I know exactly how my life will go, but the kind that says, no matter how my life goes, I know who is guiding it. And that is a deeper, stronger, quieter kind of peace. You start to notice that your prayers change. You no longer only ask for outcomes. You start asking for guidance. You no longer only ask for things to work out your way. You start asking for things to work out His way. And slowly, something beautiful happens inside you. You stop needing life to make sense all the time. You stop needing answers for every turn in the road. You stop needing guarantees before you trust. Because your trust moves from the path to the one who created the path. There will still be days when you feel unsure. There will still be nights when questions come back. But now, those questions don't shake you the same way. They bring you closer to Allah instead of pulling you away. You sit in the quiet and say, Ya Allah, I don't see what you see. I don't know what you know. But I place this step and the next one and the one after that in your hands. And that is when you realize something powerful. You didn't lose your certainty. You traded a fragile one for a living one. A certainty that breathes with every prayer, that grows with every hardship, that strengthens with every moment you choose to trust Allah even when the road feels unclear. Because the most guided people are not the ones who never question. They are the ones who let their questions lead them back to Allah. And in that return, they find a peace that no clear plan could ever give them. The pain was permission for your soul to stop begging for what was beneath its calling. There is a quiet moment that comes in life when you realize you are tired of trying to fit into places that never truly held you. Not because people pushed you out, not because something dramatic happened, but because your heart simply stopped feeling at home there. At first, you fight that feeling. You tell yourself, be patient, be grateful, don't be difficult. So you stay, you adjust, you soften your words. You hide parts of yourself just to keep the peace, and for a while it works. But deep inside, something begins to ache. Not a loud pain, a quiet one. You start feeling heavy after conversations that used to feel light. You start feeling empty in rooms that used to feel full. You start feeling like you are present but not really seen, and you don't know how to explain it even to yourself. So you keep trying harder. You give more. You listen more, you understand more, you make space for everyone else even when no one is making space for you. And one day, your heart whispers something you can no longer ignore. This is costing me, costing you your peace, costing you your voice, costing you the version of yourself that used to feel alive and close to Allah. That whisper is not weakness, it is guidance. Because Allah never created your soul to shrink just to be accepted. He never created your heart to become small, just to belong. There are places you can survive in, and there are places you can grow in. And sometimes Allah lets you stay in the first kind long enough for you to feel the difference. So He begins to loosen your ties, not all at once. Not in a way that shocks the world, but in a way that wakes you up. You start feeling uncomfortable where you once felt settled. You start feeling restless where you once felt safe. You start feeling distant from things you once chased. And you wonder, what is wrong with me? But nothing is wrong with you. Something is changing in you. Allah is teaching your heart to recognize what drains it and what feeds it. You begin to notice how some connections leave you closer to Him and others quietly pull you away. How some spaces remind you to pray and others make you forget time with Him. How some people help you become softer, kinder, and more honest, while others make you tense, guarded, and silent. And slowly, your soul starts choosing differently. Not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of care for the life Allah placed inside you. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. You stop proving your worth to places that don't value it. You stop chasing belonging in spaces that require you to lose yourself to stay. And this part is hard because walking away from what is familiar hurts, even when it is not good for you. Letting go of what you know feels scarier than stepping into what you don't. There will be nights when you miss the old faces, the old routines, the old version of life that felt simpler. But in those nights, Allah sits with you in a way the crowd never could. You begin to feel His presence in the quiet, in your dua, in the stillness of your room, in the moments when it's just you and Him, and you realize something beautiful. You were never meant to be everywhere. You were meant to be where your soul can breathe. So when you feel yourself being pulled away from certain people, places, or patterns, don't rush to label it as loss. Sometimes it is Allah teaching your heart to choose a life that brings you closer to Him, not just a life that looks full on the outside. Sometimes it is Him protecting the softness of your soul from becoming hard, tired, or forgotten. And one day you will find yourself in spaces that don't ask you to be smaller, with people who don't ask you to be quieter, on a path that doesn't pull you away from Allah but leads you gently back to Him. And in that moment you will understand. You didn't lose connection. You were guided to belong where your faith can grow. You were not abandoned. You were withdrawn from a future that couldn't carry your light. There is a kind of moment in life that feels like being left behind while the world keeps moving. You watch others go forward. You see doors opening for them. You hear good news, celebrations, new beginnings, and you are standing still, holding questions you don't know how to ask. At first, you try to stay strong. You smile for people. You say, Alhamdulillah, even when your heart feels heavy. You tell yourself, my time will come. But inside, there is a quiet ache. You wonder why your path feels slower, why your story feels paused, why it feels like Allah has placed you on the side while everyone else is walking ahead. And that is when the whisper comes. Maybe I wasn't chosen. Maybe I was forgotten. Maybe I'm not meant for more than this. But my dear heart, this is not what is happening. Sometimes Allah does not move you forward. He moves you away from places that would have slowly dimmed you, away from paths that would have quietly limited you, away from futures that looked good on the outside but were too small for the soul He placed inside you. And when He does this, it doesn't feel like protection. It feels like being pulled back. You feel out of place. You feel disconnected. You feel like you no longer fit where you once belonged. But light does not grow in every environment. Some spaces are too loud for reflection. Some relationships are too heavy for peace. Some plans are too tight for the heart Allah gave you. So Allah gently lifts you out. Not because you failed, not because you didn't deserve to stay, but because what you were becoming could not survive there. There is a kind of growth that only happens in quiet places. There is a kind of strength that only forms when you are alone with Allah. There is a kind of clarity that only comes when the noise fades. So He allows a distance to form. You stop receiving the same messages. The invitations slow down. The conversations don't feel the same anymore. And you think, what did I do wrong? But sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. You simply outgrew the space without realizing it. Your heart started wanting something deeper. Your soul started craving something more meaningful. Your faith started pulling you toward a life that is not just busy but purposeful. And that kind of life cannot always be built in the same place you began. There will be days when this separation feels lonely. You will miss the way things used to be. You will miss feeling included. You will miss the comfort of being part of something familiar. But in that loneliness, Allah draws closer. You begin to talk to Him more. Not because you are strong, but because you have no one else to lean on. You begin to sit with your thoughts, your dua, your tears, and your hopes. And slowly something changes inside you. You stop needing the world to validate you. You stop needing people to see you. You stop needing constant noise to feel alive. Because you start to feel seen by Allah. You start to feel guided by Him. You start to feel held by Him. And that feeling is deeper than any applause, any crowd, any approval could ever be. One day you will walk into a place that feels different. A place where you don't have to explain your faith. A place where you don't have to hide your values. A place where your heart can speak without being careful. And you will realize that if Allah had not pulled you away from where you were before, you would have never found where you truly belong. So if today you feel like you don't fit anymore, if you feel like you are standing on the outside of a life you once knew, if you feel like something has quietly moved you away from what used to feel normal, don't rush to call it rejection. Sometimes it is Allah making sure that your light does not fade in a place that cannot protect it. Sometimes it is Him guiding you toward a future that needs the full version of who you are. And even if the path feels empty right now, remember this: you are not walking alone. The one who moved you from where you were is walking with you to where you are meant to be. And He never leads a heart away from something without leading it closer to Him. And as you continue walking in this quiet space Allah has placed you in, you begin to notice how different the air feels. It is softer, slower, less crowded with voices telling you who you should be and where you should go. At first, this silence feels uncomfortable. You are so used to noise, so used to opinions, so used to people around you shaping your choices without you even realizing it. Now it is just you and Allah. And in that space, your heart starts to speak in ways it never could before. You begin to notice what truly makes you tired, what truly brings you peace, what pulls you closer to Allah, and what quietly pulls you away. You start seeing your life not as a race, but as a trust Allah placed in your hands. And suddenly, you are not as interested in moving fast as you are in moving right. There will be moments when you look back. You will scroll through old messages. You will remember old gatherings. You will think about the version of life you once had. And for a second, your heart will ache. But then you will also remember how heavy you used to feel in those places. How tired you were trying to keep up. How often you silenced parts of yourself just to belong. And you will understand something new. Belonging is not about being surrounded. It is about being understood. And sometimes the only one who truly understands you in every season is Allah. So He creates a season where you have no choice but to sit with Him. You start finding comfort in small things. The quiet of the early morning, the sound of your own voice in dua, the feeling of your forehead touching the ground in prayer. These moments begin to fill the space that people and places once occupied. And you realize slowly, gently, this distance was not meant to make you empty. It was meant to make you deep, because shallow roots cannot hold tall trees. And Allah is not growing you to be small. He is growing you to stand through winds, storms, and long nights without falling back into what once felt safe but was slowly wearing you down. There will come a day when Allah brings new people into your life, but they will feel different. They won't pull you away from your values. They won't make you feel smaller for your faith. They won't require you to trade your peace for their presence. They will meet you where you are, not where you used to be. And you will look back at this quiet season and understand why Allah guarded it so closely, why He pulled you out of noise, why He moved you away from what was familiar, why He placed you in stillness. Because this was the place where your heart learned to stand on Allah alone. And when you can stand there, you can walk anywhere without losing yourself. So if tonight feels quiet, if the world feels distant, if your life feels slower than you hoped, let your heart rest in this truth. You are not being delayed. You are being prepared. Prepared to carry something better. Prepared to walk a path that matches your faith. Prepared to live a life that is not just seen by people, but cherished by Allah. And when the next door opens, you will not rush through it out of loneliness. You will walk through it with calm, because now you know what it feels like to be held by the one who never lets go. Allah let it collapse so you would finally meet the strength you were hiding from. There is a kind of strength you don't discover when life is smooth. You don't find it when everything is working, when people are around you, when plans are falling into place and the road ahead looks clear. You find it when things fall apart. At first, you don't recognize what is happening. You think you are losing. You think you are failing. You think something important has been taken from you. You look around and see what is missing. The person who used to stand by you, the routine that used to give your days shape, the plan that once made you excited about the future. And in that moment, your heart feels exposed. There is no one to lean on the way you used to. No system to fall back into. No familiar place to hide when things get heavy. So you feel weak. But what you don't see yet is this. This is the moment Allah is introducing you to the strength you never had to use before. There was a time when you didn't have to be this strong because someone else carried part of your weight, because something else gave you stability, because life had a structure that held you up when you felt tired. And that is not a bad thing. Allah gives comfort as a gift, but He does not want you to confuse the gift with the source. So sometimes He allows the gift to step away, not to make you fall, but to show you that He is the one who has been holding you all along. When everything around you feels like it is collapsing, something inside you starts to rise. You begin to pray in a way you never prayed before. Not with fancy words, not with long lists, but with honesty. Ya Allah, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Ya Allah, I don't know where to go from here. Ya Allah, I just need you. And in those quiet, simple words, something powerful happens. You stop performing strength. You stop pretending you are okay. You stop trying to hold everything together on your own. You let Allah hold you. You start to notice how your heart becomes braver in small ways. You get through a day you thought you couldn't. You face a moment you were afraid of. You sit with a feeling you used to run from. And each time you do, a quiet confidence grows inside you. Not the loud kind, not the kind that needs to be seen, but the kind that knows deep down, I will be okay, not because I am powerful, but because Allah is with me. There will be nights when you still feel tired. There will be mornings when your heart feels heavy. But now, you don't collapse under that weight the way you used to. You carry it. You carry it with dua. You carry it with patience. You carry it with a trust that was not there before. You start to realize that what you thought was breaking you is actually training you. Training your heart to stand without leaning on people. Training your soul to breathe without depending on outcomes. Training your faith to stay alive even when life feels uncertain. And slowly, you become someone different. You don't rush to be saved by the world anymore. You don't chase comfort the same way. You don't fall apart when things don't go as planned, because you have learned where real strength comes from. It comes from knowing that even if everything around you changes, the one guiding you does not. One day you will look back at this season and realize something that will surprise you. You will not remember it as the time you were weak. You will remember it as the time you became strong, the time you learned to walk with Allah instead of being carried by circumstances, the time you learned to stand even when no one was standing with you, the time you discovered that your heart could hold more than you ever thought it could. So if right now life feels heavy, if you feel like you are carrying more than you should have to, if you feel like everything that once supported you is no longer there, remember this. Allah did not leave you alone in this moment. He is standing closer to you than ever. And the strength you are finding right now is not something you will ever lose, because it was not built on people, plans, or comfort. It was built on Him. This wound is not a scar. It's the door through which your real life will enter. There is a day that will come in your life when you will look back at this season and barely recognize the person you used to be. Not because you forgot the pain, not because the memories disappeared, but because the heart that carried them is no longer the same. Right now, this moment feels like a wound, something open, something sensitive, something you protect without even realizing it. You move carefully around it. You choose your words around it. You avoid certain thoughts, certain places, certain memories, because they still touch that tender part inside you. And you tell yourself, this is who I am now, someone who has been hurt. But my dear heart, this is not where your story ends. This is where it opens. There are pains that leave marks, and there are pains that leave doors. At first, all you see is what you lost. The life you thought you were building, the version of the future you had already imagined, the person you thought you would always be. You grieve those things quietly, sometimes loudly, sometimes in prayers that don't even feel like words, just feelings you place in front of Allah and hope He understands. And He does, because Allah does not only see what you are losing, He sees what you are becoming. There is a gentleness that starts to grow in you after deep pain. You become softer with others because you know what it feels like to hurt. You become more patient because you know what it feels like to wait for relief. You become more aware of Allah because you know what it feels like to need Him. These are not small things. These are the qualities of a heart that is being shaped for something meaningful. You start to notice how your life changes in quiet ways. You don't rush into things the way you used to. You listen more. You think before you speak. You pray before you decide. And without realizing it, you begin to walk differently through the world. There is a calm in you that was not there before, a depth in your words, a steadiness in your steps. People may not know what you went through. They may not see the nights you cried. They may not understand the battles you fought inside yourself, but they will feel something when they are around you, a presence, a peace, a sincerity. That does not come from a life that has always been easy. It comes from a heart that has been broken open and then held gently by Allah. One day, something new will enter your life. A new opportunity, a new connection, a new path you never imagined before. And you will approach it differently than you would have in the past. Not with desperation, not with fear of losing it, not with the need to make it your whole world, but with balance. You will enjoy it as a gift, not as a lifeline. You will appreciate it, but you will not place your entire heart inside it, because now you know where your heart truly belongs. You will see how this painful season taught you something that comfort never could. It taught you how to stand on Allah alone, how to trust without seeing, how to walk forward without needing everything to make sense. And in that moment, you will understand something deeply. This pain did not close your life. It opened it. It opened your heart to a kind of faith that is not shaken by change. It opened your soul to a kind of peace that is not tied to outcomes. It opened your future to paths you could never have reached as the person you once were. So if tonight you still feel that ache, if you still feel the tenderness of what you went through, hold it gently, not as a scar that marks where you were hurt, but as a doorway that shows where Allah led you through. Because the life that is waiting for you on the other side of this pain is not just a continuation of the old one. It is something truer, something deeper, something closer to Him. And when you step into it, you will not say, I survived that. You will say quietly with a heart full of gratitude, Allah carried me through that. And in that carrying, you will realize you were never alone for a single step. Before you go, let me leave you with something to carry into the quiet of your night. Right now, somewhere in your life, there is a question you keep asking Allah in your heart. You may not even have words for it. It's just a feeling, a weight, a hope that hasn't found its answer yet. And I want you to know this. Allah heard that question long before it ever reached your lips. Every tear you held back, every prayer you whispered, every moment you looked up and thought, Ya Allah, I don't understand this. None of it went unnoticed. There is no part of your story that is wasted, no pain that is meaningless, no delay that is empty. Even this moment, even this season, even this quiet heaviness you feel right now, it is being gently placed exactly where it belongs in the life Allah is writing for you. So tonight, when you finally stand up from this screen, when the room goes quiet again, when it's just you and your thoughts, don't rush to fill the silence. Let Allah meet you there. Sit with Him for a moment, not with perfect words, not with long prayers, just with honesty. Say in your heart softly, Ya Allah, I don't see the full picture, but I trust the one who does. And walk forward with this in your chest. You are not walking a broken path. You are walking a guided one. The one who allowed this pain is the same, one who is preparing your healing. And when the day comes, and it will come when you finally understand why this had to happen, you won't feel anger. You won't feel regret. You will feel something much quieter, peace. May Allah wrap your heart in that peace tonight. May He turn your questions into clarity. May He turn your waiting into light. And may you always remember, you were never left alone in this story. You were being carried. Ameen.